Just came down here on the bike, see if there's any hope for tonight. It's so freaking windy. So it is like 100% too windy outside to be flying right now. Freaking gusting McNarly sauce. So I figured what better day to catch up on some motor maintenance. Today we got kind of a chilled video. Got the Scout machine, which just about hit 10 hours. And at 10 hours, they call for a little maintenance sequence. So today we're gonna go over all that maintenance. I'll share a few tips and tricks with you guys. We'll get her up to snuff, ready to go for the spring season when the wind finally dies down. But before we get into that, I actually had a little motor issue the other day. So I'm at the field, I pull start my motor, and it kind of backfired and kicked and pulled my pull starter hand back, which is weird. And then I got it running, and then it made this horrible noise. I got a little footage of it. So I kind of inspected the problem. I dismounted my motor, checked it out, and what I came to the conclusion was there was something wrong with my pull starter. Later on, I took it back, pulled apart the pull starter, and sure enough, there was an issue with my pull starter. There's this little spring and these little feet thing that's what catches for the pull starter to start. This spring seemed like it had fatigued. When I touched it, you can actually see in the photo, there's a little tiny crack. I touched the spring and it broke. And that allowed this little foot thing to work its way out. And basically I shaved off the end of the foot. No big deal. Lucky for me, I have those Vitarazi handy boxes. So I had the parts and I fixed it and it's ready to go. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Just a little hiccup along the way, a very weird failure in my opinion. I've never encountered any real pull starter issues, but simple fix, can't be disappointed. So we're gonna dive into the 10-hour maintenance. There's a spot in the Vitarazi manual that details the 10-hour maintenance, and the first thing I'm gonna do off that list is torquing the head. So the plug color looks super dark. That's a good sign. It's running a little rich. The break-in mixture keeps it rich, so that's pretty much what I would expect. I think I approve of this message. All right, so the spark plug, piston head, and cylinder head all look good. All I'm really looking for is not excessive carbon buildup. There's a little bit of carbon, a little bit of black stuff, totally normal. And nothing's melted or warped, so that's always good. I'm gonna go ahead and put the cylinder head back on and then torque it to spec. Pro tip, with my very first Moster, see how the cylinder is mounted at an angle like that? When you put the head on, it kind of wants to sit off to one side, and there's a tiny little lip in the head that mates with the cylinder. When I had my very first motor, I'm talking like I pulled it out of the box. It was a used motor. I wanted to look at the piston and see how the wear and tear was. As I put it back on, I didn't make sure that this was fitting flush. It was off axis, and I cranked the bolts down and it smushed the aluminum. I almost cried. I thought I just destroyed my brand new motor. Luckily it was fine and it still ran great with no leaks after that. But yeah, always make sure that before you crank down your cylinder head nuts, that your head is sitting flat exactly how you want it. All right, the head is torqued, spark plug's back installed, shroud is installed. It's not part of the 10-hour maintenance thing, but I'm gonna verify that my propeller bolts are actually torqued. Funny thing is, I was actually running a carbon propeller, and normally this happens more on wood propellers, but I tightened it on the initial first tighten, and then I went to take it off about 7 hours later, and it was ridiculously loose. And I think that's because the material actually compresses a little bit. So you always want to keep in mind, definitely if you're running a wood prop, it's smart to frequently check your torque on your prop. Who knows what would happen if you threw a prop mid-flight? It'd be freaking crazy. All right, so step number 3 on the list is verifying the belt tension. And now this is where we have a fun little tip/trick. There's 2 different ways to do this. The first way is to use this bar mechanism and this pin thing, and then you take the prop and the air box off and you loosen a bunch of bolts, and then you hang 3 kilograms of water or something off the end of this, and that gets your belt tension right. Or the other, much more simple method is to use a tuning app, and it tells you like frequency or pitch or whatever, and you pluck the belt and you hold your phone right up next to it and you look for a certain range. In this case, it's like 400 to 430 or something like that. I'm probably a little off, but you just pluck the belt until you hear the right sound. And if you're within spec, that means you don't have to take anything off. You're just checking it to begin with. And if you're out of spec, then you have to take all the stuff off and get it within spec. So we're gonna pluck our belt with the tuner app and see where this one lies. It was there. 438 hertz. That's within spec. It's 430 to 450. So belt tension is golden. All right, step number 4 on the list is verifying idle stability. And honestly, with this motor being brand new, I haven't gotten the pull starting dialed in. It's been kind of finicky to pull start. I don't know if I'm not priming it right or whatever. So the other day I actually did a little tuning session, and all I did was played with the low end needle. You don't want to touch the high end. It's set with a sticker from the factory. The low end you can tweak, and you can tweak the idle screw. So I tweaked those. I ended up leaning the low end just a hair in hopes of making it easier to start, and it seems like it helped. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw the motor on my back and try to start it up. It's cold right now, so we'll see how well it actually starts. Cold start. All right, that was a legitimate one tug, and she fired right up. Take that, Woody. But yeah, I guess the tuning probably helped, so I'll just run with that and hopefully it keeps working that well. Idle stability, you can't really test until the engine's super hot, and that's where you want to tune the idle, and I'm not gonna run it and get it really hot in the garage right now, but I'm confident in my idle stability. I'm gonna give that box number 4 a big checkaroony. All right, last but not least, we have tightening all of the screws, bolts, and nuts, verification of anomalous leakage of oil, grease, or gasoline, and verification of the integrity of the rubber mounting. That includes the airbox. My solution is actually holding up if you guys watched that episode. I used the torque wrench and torqued it, which is well beyond what I would normally torque it, and the clamp hasn't moved. So figure that, it's working. But I also have the strap on there, so if it doesn't work, we're all good. I swapped this motor myself. If you missed that episode, that was a thing. So I'm actually gonna make sure that my bolts that I put in and Loctited and torqued are still good and tight, because I did it and not the factory, so I wanna make sure they're holding up over time. All right, she's looking A-okay. It's always good to do a little maintenance and feel like your machine is gonna operate properly. Aside from that, it's literally like a hurricane outside, and Jacqueline rode her motorcycle to work today, and she hates riding in the wind, so I'm actually gonna take a ride on my bike over to pick her up at work and escort her home on her motorbike. So let's jump to the GoPro footage and we'll go pick up Jacqueline. Oh, so I got Jacqueline from work, and Jacqueline, tell the fine folks at home how your motorcycle ride was.
It was scary. I almost got blown off the road.
Yeah, it was really windy, but it was a good time. The maintenance, 10-hour maintenance is complete. Hopefully there were some tips in there that you might find useful on your Moster 10-hour maintenance. Make sure you check out the Risky Biscuit stuff on the web store, and let me know what kind of video topics you guys want to see on bad weather days when it's incredibly windy and we can't fly. Drop them in the comments down below. Till the next one, I suppose, peace out. Jacqueline.